Take a look at almost any classic hoodie or crewneck sweatshirt, and you might notice a small, triangular piece of ribbed fabric stitched just below the front collar. It's easy to overlook because it's usually the same color as the rest of the garment, blending into the design so well that most people never give it a second thought. But once you notice it, it's hard to stop wondering why it's there in the first place. Is it simply decorative, or did it once serve a real purpose? So why do hoodies and sweatshirts have that triangle below the collar? Like many everyday design details, this small feature has a history that stretches back much further than most people realize. Today, we're uncovering the surprising story behind one of the most overlooked details in everyday clothing. Right here, on History of Simple Things. To understand this small triangle, it helps to go back to the early days of the modern sweatshirt. Sweatshirts first appeared during the early 20th century as practical athletic clothing, designed for comfort rather than fashion. Before then, many athletes trained in heavy wool garments that trapped heat but also became itchy, restrictive, and uncomfortable once soaked with sweat. Manufacturers began experimenting with softer cotton fabrics that could absorb moisture more effectively while allowing greater freedom of movement. One of the companies that helped popularize these garments was the Knickerbocker Knitting Company, which later became known as Russell Athletic. Their goal wasn't to create a fashion statement, but to produce clothing that athletes could wear for long periods without sacrificing comfort. As sweatshirts became more common in schools and sports programs during the 1920s and 1930s, manufacturers continued refining their designs based on real-world use. Football players, runners, and other athletes put tremendous strain on their clothing during training and competition. The collar area, in particular, experienced constant stretching as garments were repeatedly pulled over the head before and after practice. At the same time, the neckline was exposed to heavy perspiration and constant movement, making it one of the first places to show signs of wear. Designers wanted a solution that would strengthen this high-stress area without making the sweatshirt heavier or more complicated to produce. The answer turned out to be remarkably simple. That small triangular insert is commonly known as a V-stitch, V-insert, or Dorito patch, although clothing historians generally prefer the first two names. On many early sweatshirts, it wasn't merely decorative stitching. Instead, it was an actual insert made from ribbed knit fabric similar to the material used on the cuffs and waistband. Because ribbed knit stretches more easily than the main fleece fabric, the insert allowed the collar to flex more comfortably whenever the sweatshirt was pulled over the wearer's head. Just as importantly, the additional stitching reinforced one of the garment's weakest points, helping the neckline maintain its shape after repeated use. Some vintage sweatshirts even featured matching V-inserts on both the front and back of the collar, providing even greater flexibility and structural support. The V-insert likely offered another advantage as well. Since it was made from absorbent ribbed knit material, it could help manage perspiration that collected around the base of the neck during physical activity. While it wasn't designed as a dedicated sweat-catching device like a modern sweatband, the textured ribbing provided more surface area than the surrounding fleece and may have improved moisture absorption in one of the warmest parts of the garment. Historians generally agree that reinforcing the collar was its primary purpose, while moisture management was a valuable secondary benefit rather than the main reason for its existence. This combination of functions reflects a common approach in early workwear and athletic clothing, where a single design feature often solves several small problems at once through simple, practical engineering. Over the following decades, sweatshirts gradually expanded beyond sports fields and training facilities. By the middle of the 20th century, they had become popular among college students, factory workers, military personnel during off-duty hours, and eventually the general public. Hooded sweatshirts, first introduced in the 1930s for laborers working in cold warehouses, followed a similar path before becoming everyday casual clothing. As manufacturing methods improved, stronger fabrics and better stitching reduced the practical need for the V-insert. Even so, many clothing companies continued including it because customers had come to associate the feature with quality, durability, and traditional craftsmanship. In many ways, the triangle became part of the sweatshirt's identity. Today, whether a hoodie or sweatshirt includes the triangle depends largely on its style and the philosophy of the manufacturer. Heritage brands often recreate the original ribbed V-insert using traditional construction techniques to stay faithful to vintage designs from the early 20th century. Other companies simply sew a V-shaped pattern onto the front of the garment without adding an extra layer of fabric. Visually, both versions appear similar, but only the true ribbed insert retains the original construction method. Most shoppers never notice the difference, yet clothing enthusiasts and collectors often use the presence of an authentic V-insert as one sign that a sweatshirt draws inspiration from classic athletic wear. That little triangle below the collar may seem insignificant, but it tells a much bigger story about how clothing evolves over time. What began as a practical solution to improve flexibility, strengthen the neckline, and help manage perspiration gradually transformed into one of the most recognizable features of the classic sweatshirt. Today, it serves as a quiet reminder of the garment's origins in sports and hard work, connecting modern hoodies and sweatshirts to designs created nearly a century ago. The next time you pull on your favorite hoodie or sweatshirt, you'll know that the tiny triangle beneath the collar isn't just another stitch. It's a lasting piece of clothing history that has stood the test of time. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.